One contingent of people on the ground that we've at News 24 Live recently met with is a contingent of pensioners from the Eastern Cape. They came down weeks back by bus, paid for the trip themselves, and have been standing outside that very People's Parliament trying to get pension funds and the help of the state. To me, that's a golden opportunity for an organization like yours that often gets a lot of flack for not being in touch with the poor, not being, au fait with the issues of people on the ground, people who live a very violent and brutal life. And yet the DA, as far as I know, has done nothing towards that issue.
Yeah, well, these are Ciskei pensioners from the
Yes.
former homeland of the Ciskei, and they come to Parliament every year to protest, etc. And
Which
raise
shows
issues.
that nothing
Yeah, well,
happens
what's happened
year
is
on
that
year.
there are government departments that have promised various things and to do things. The last time we engaged with them, I think the previous year when they were here,
November
there
last
was
year.
a intimation to us that the ANC was dealing with their problem and that they didn't really want the interference. But I mean, there are complex issues there, and it involves a number of government departments, and also whether the new democratic regime is responsible for undertakings and debts made by, I believe, an illegitimate homeland scheme. But I mean, what Parliament should be doing is providing an environment for them to come in and express their concerns. But I think parliaments around the world are a site of protest. I mean, we have a lady that has very serious allegations against the former chief whip and the former chief whip's chief of staff, and she stands up Parliament every single day. There's a man in Washington stands outside the White House. You've got protesters, regular protests outside Congress. But we are, we through our transport spokesperson have raised the questions. We've asked what the problem was. We keep being told that the government departments are dealing with it, but obviously, I mean, it is a serious issue, and we now have received information that the Labour Department has been brought in to try and get UIF. We've been told that the Social Development Department has been brought in to try and get members onto some form of pension. But I mean, it is a complex issue,
and quite a pressing one, because they represent thousands of families back in the Eastern Cape. The contingent of staff here is huge, and so even just that gesture of meeting with them, which I believe some other political parties have done, once with the ANC, some others a little bit more, some of the smaller opposition parties. But like you say, Parliament is a site of protest, and that in itself is symbolically quite important, that people would come all that way and then find themselves without accommodation in the winter months in Cape Town, and yet as senior citizens are prepared to stand outside Parliament. They were there this morning. So I think it's an indictment on your party and the majority party that you have not done more to meet with them.
Well, we have met with them. I've said to you, our spokespersons have engaged with them, and we've tried where possible to get to the bottom of the issues. But I mean, we're faced with a government that's intransigent. But the big thing that those individuals need to know is that there's a causal link about who you vote for and the circumstances you find yourself. By and large, the majority of those individuals who we engaged with in the last election, in the last time they were here, appear to be ANC supporters, and they're disgruntled and unhappy about it. But we also, if they want to see the change, I mean, they need to give us the power to be able to do it. We don't have control over the government departments that would essentially look after those various aspects and actually action them. What we're seeing is, again, foot dragging by the ANC and by the government. I mean, if these were Western Cape citizens, I mean, it would be a different story as well. I mean, the provincial government should be intervening a lot more, because I think that is the real locus, because the provinces were the ultimate inheritors of the previous, what were called homelands under the Bantustan system. So KwaZulu-Natal has had to absorb a number of consequences of the old KZ government that were headed up there. But the problem is the Eastern Cape is such a dysfunctional province in itself that these people feel they can't locate their problem where, at source, where it should be being directed. So they're having to come to Parliament to try and do it. And I think that is the more fundamental problem. So if they want to see change, they want to see there's issues being resolved, they maybe need to think very carefully about how they vote in the upcoming local government elections, and certainly in the next elections. Because if we have opposition-controlled provinces, we can then, and in charge of those government departments, it then enables us to be able to deal with those issues, much like we deal with social development issues in the Western Cape.